Hey guys, so I don't know how to start this off. So if you've seen my other videos, which I'm sure you haven't because there's like 10 views on them, then you'll notice that my background is completely different. All this stuff is my sister's stuff. I'm currently staying in my sister's room because I've been through quite a bit of life changes. The last time I was on camera, I was living with my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend, and his brother and his sister-in-law. It's been a big change for me. I was with him for 5.5 years. Since I was 17, and I'm 22, gonna be 23 in a couple months, so that's a pretty big, I think that's a pretty significant time of development for people, and I was with somebody for that time, who now I'm not with anymore. I think it started to fall apart long before we broke up. I feel like I should zoom out a little bit. I'm so sorry I keep adjusting this. I'm such a noob. I was young and I didn't know that much. I'm still young and don't know anything. I still care about him a lot, but I would say not in the capacity that I did before, only because there were so many things that happened during and towards the end that just really, for me, solidified not wanting him in my life anymore. I don't know, I wanted him in my life, but especially after we broke up, there was just so many things. So I kind of just wanted to make a little update video. So moving forward, there's an explanation as to why things shifted. And also I think I just need to vent a little bit. When we broke up, I immediately was looking for a rebound, as I think a lot of people would. But I don't know, I think because I'm a girl, that seems very like, shouldn't you be like crying and eating ice cream with your friends? I do that too, but I think sometimes I'm a little masculine in some ways, only in the sense that there's just a couple of things that I don't think that really matters. I very quickly was looking for a rebound, and he seemed fine with it. He seemed like he didn't really care, and he seemed completely detached from the situation, so I didn't think it mattered to him at all. It was kind of a complicated situation, but anyway, I'll just tell the story. So I got a Tinder because that's what young people do nowadays. I've never had a Tinder because, again, I was with my boyfriend when I was 17 years old. I don't even think Tinder existed 5 years ago, so I never used it. So as soon as I became single, I was just ready to just throw myself out there so that I could feel like a person, so that I could feel like a regular 22-year-old, because for me, I think the worst feeling was feeling weird, because I was one of the only people that I knew in my age range that was in a relationship for that long and had so little experience dating. So I just threw myself in there and I got the Tinder right away. And I didn't know what I was doing with it. But I started talking to many people, as you do. But one guy I started talking to, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna hang out with him. And I would say this was not an entire month after we officially broke up, but over a month since, it really started to fall apart. So I felt like by then I was over it, and I was ready to move on. It's not like I was looking for a relationship, but I was just looking for company, because it's hard when you're living with somebody and you're with them every second of every day for 5.5 years, or almost, because we didn't live together until the last like 2 years, and then you go from that to just being completely alone. That's a very strange feeling. So for me, I'm just trying to distract myself, and I think that's normal. I think that's fair. I think I'm just dealing with things the way that I need to and that I feel helps me cope. And also I'm single and I'm 22, so I can do that because a lot of single 22-year-olds meet people on Tinder and go on a date. So a lot of people are like, you don't have to explain yourself, but when I continue with this story, you will see why I feel the need to explain myself. I was on a date with this guy, or I was planning a date with this guy like a week in advance. So that was also around Christmas time, so I was finishing up Christmas shopping because I had been so depressed that I hadn't really done any Christmas shopping until the last minute. So I was very busy trying to do it all in one day. And then this guy was coming over and I was like, oh, I forgot, but I was like, whatever. I made these plans, I don't want to flake on him. So I was like, yeah, come over. And so I got home and this guy was going to come over in like an hour. So I had like an hour to like, you know, put all of this stuff that I bought away, like get my Christmas presents organized and get ready for this date. So, I don't know, yeah, weird. So I got a text from my ex-boyfriend and he was asking to get his camera. This was the day before Christmas Eve, and I knew that he celebrated Christmas Eve with his family. So my assumption was that he needed the camera for Christmas Eve to take pictures of Christmas Eve, because he was like, I need it either today or tomorrow. And I was like, okay, so he needs it. But I was like, oh, you know, I thought I was going to be home before the date, and that I was going to have time to like, and I kind of just forgot that my ex asked for the camera, and then I saw it and I was like, ugh. Earlier in the day, I told him he could come, but then, you know, as the day was progressing, I was like, I'm not sure that there's a time where he's going to be here and I'm going to be able to give it to him without my date being here. So I was like, I texted him. My date was there already, because I just forgotten about it until this moment. So I was like, is there any way you can come get the camera tomorrow? And he just said, do I have to, and whatever. And I was like, oh, like, you know what, he should just come over, you know, I'll quickly give him the camera outside, it'll be fine, no drama, nothing. And I also was kind of presuming he didn't care that much if I was on a date or not, because he didn't seem to even care that I had a Tinder when I brought it up when I was getting my stuff, like, way before. He just didn't seem to care, so I assumed it was no big deal. And also I think there's also this part of me that, I hate saying this too because everyone was like, why would you do that, da 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 da, why would you have him over when your date's there? And I was like, I don't know, I just didn't think it was that big a deal. But there's also a part of me that's also like, I mean, it feels good to be like, yeah, and I'm on a date, because I was the one who got dumped. It's not, which is hard for me to say because I wouldn't say it was completely one-sided. I was really pushing like breaking up, but it's because I was pushing for a change, because the relationship was unhealthy and I knew it. And I wanted something to change, and for him, he was like, he basically felt like I wasn't even worth, you know, trying to save the relationship. So he wanted to end it. That was his choice. So of course I want to be like, well, you know what, I don't need you. Of course. It wasn't a smart decision, but and then when he, okay, keep going. So he gets here to my house, and he's like, I'm outside, I have some of your stuff, and I was like, ugh, okay. And he hands me like 2 giant bags and my old like TVs. I was like, you're making me carry this right now? Like, I thought you just needed a camera. Like, it was very annoying, but I just, whatever. Then I give him the camera, I give him some other things too, and I was like, cool, okay, well, I'll see you later. And he was like, wait. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, do you have time to talk? And I was like, of course. You don't message me saying, hey, I want to meet up and talk. You message me saying, hey, I need to pick up my camera, and then wait to see me to say, we need to talk. Just tell me you need to talk. It's not that hard. It's just, there's a little bit of immaturity on his part, I think. Emotional immaturity, not just emotionally immature. So I said, no, I can't, and then he was like, oh, okay, because I said I had somebody over. I didn't say exactly who it was. And then I said I'm kind of on a date. And he just flipped out, lost his mind, and I was like, I honestly was confused by the reaction, which is kind of stupid of me, but I was confused because I was like, I really thought you didn't care. So he was like flipping out. He was like just having a full fit, and I was like, okay. And I tried to make things better, but he was just not having it. So I was like, okay, well, bye. Like, sorry. And I felt really bad about it. So I tried to text him. And full disclosure, I had a little bit to drink. I'm an adult. I'm 22, again, legal drinking age, and I was, letting loose, trying to relax. Especially because I was on my first date in like 5 years, so I was trying to relax, yes. So I tried to text him, and I was like, I'm really sorry. Of course, and I'm apologizing for what, like being on a date. I don't know what I was apologizing for, but I was apologizing because I said, I didn't know you wanted to talk. I thought you just needed the camera. And he just said, I think it's better if we don't talk for a while. And I said, well, I didn't think we were talking anyway. And I really didn't think we were talking because I would message him and he would just give me very short answers, or the only things we would talk about would be picking up our stuff, which he left a lot of his stuff at my parents' house, and that's a whole other story. His relationship with my parents is horrible. They've had a terrible relationship, and that's just been strain on me that now I don't have to deal with anymore, thank goodness, but that I put up with for him. So his stuff was still here, and I was the only one who was like, no, don't throw it away, like, keep it, I'll make sure he gets it. Like, I was so, even after everything, I was always very, like, generous, I would say, and loyal. Loyal is the number one thing. I was always very loyal. I didn't think we were really talking because every conversation we had after we broke up was very, like, I was trying to be nice and he just didn't seem to want to even talk to me. So I was like, okay, well, whatever, then we're just not going to be friends then, if that's what you want. So for him to just all of a sudden just be like, act like I just blew him off after 5 years of being together and a month of being broken up or whatever, that just wasn't the case. You'll see why I'm so defensive about this. He said, I think we should just not talk, and I said, I didn't think we were talking anyway, and then I said, I'm sorry again, I've been drinking, and I really, I miss you, and this is how I'm coping with things, and I'm sorry, and I know you have to cope with things the way you're gonna cope with things, but this is just how I'm dealing. And then he just said, can you turn your location services off? Because I was sharing my location with him still, because you can do that on iPhone. So I just turned it off, and then that was it. Me, being the dumb idiot that I am, put some tweets on my private Twitter account, and it's my dog. Okay, sorry. That's my dog. What are you doing? Come here. Come here. So, anyway, don't knock over my tripod. Oh, this is my dog. This is Bugs. Oh! What was I saying? Bless you. So, that night, as I was on a date with this guy, I was posting some tweets about it. It was very dumb. Very dumb. Looking back, I thought I was just being funny because this is why I'm doing this kind of stuff on YouTube, because to me, I think my life is entertaining, and I think telling stories can come through movies or books or whatever, or YouTube, and I think that stories I could just get into this whole philosophy about it. I just like to share my life. I think that's a really good way of communicating and getting in touch with people, and it's a beautiful thing and it's a great thing. It can also be a funny thing, it can be a sad thing, it can be a horrible thing, but the whole point is communicating and sharing our stories, and that's what YouTube is really for, I think, and social media. So on Twitter, again, private Twitter account, I will emphasize that again, because I work with kids and I work in the school district, so it's hard for me to put that kind of stuff on anything public, that I don't know who's following me, because, and to be fair, my Twitter account was public at one point, so I still don't necessarily know everybody who's following me. But for the most part, I know that it's just people who are my friends and like maybe spam bots, I don't know. But I don't post things on public social media platforms that could be seen as scandalous or a little edgy or whatever, because that could reflect badly on me and cost me my job. And you know, YouTube and social media is not making me money. I wish it did, but it's not making me money at this point in my life, so I have to keep my job. I keep looking at the monitor. No, I don't have a monitor. I'm not that classy. I keep looking at the screen, sorry. And I can't lose my job. So I'm careful about those things on those accounts, but on a private social media account, no, I'm not. This is my only private social media account, is my private Twitter, which I no longer treat as a private account that I can say whatever I want because of what I'm about to tell you. So I post some things about the night, poking fun at things that I did. You know, just being funny, being relatable, being, you know, just putting myself out there, because I want people to know that I want people to know that this is just things that, you know, a girl in my situation goes through. I posted those things. I thought that his Twitter account that was following my account had gotten hacked, and I even thought about it as I was posting the tweets. I thought, is he gonna see this? But I thought no, because that his old account had gotten hacked, and I remember, and I guess I must have remembered wrong, but I remember his account being hacked and him just getting a new one or something. I don't know, or he could have just followed me again. I don't really know. Oh yeah, he did get that was his new one. See, I don't know because I don't remember. He didn't really use Twitter, so I just didn't think anything of it. The last thing I remembered about his Twitter was that it was hacked and he just stopped using it. I just didn't think anything of it. I woke up the next morning and he had favorited 2 of the tweets. One of them was saying, you know, negative things about him trying to ruin my night, because I felt that he was, in the way that he handled the situation, I think he was trying to, he's a very manipulative person, and that's something that I can't get into without getting really personal and really into our relationship, but he's very smart, so he knows how to manipulate people. And I don't think he does it intentionally. I think that's just, he doesn't know how to express himself, and he likes to control the situation. So this is so hard. I really, really care about him still as a person, and everybody kind of knew this stuff about him, and I did to some extent, but I didn't want to admit it to myself. I think the way he handled things that night, he was trying to make me feel bad for trying to live my life, because he didn't really want me to move on. He wanted to not be in a relationship with me, but still have me wait for him, I think. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know. I haven't talked to him about it because he doesn't talk to me anymore, and I'm really, at this point, I don't think it'd be healthy for us to talk until at least he's calmed down. I'm hurt, but I also am going to stand my ground, because for a long time I didn't in our relationship, and I think that I need to at this point, because there's just a lot of things. But he needs to realize what he did wrong in the situation for us to have a healthy conversation about it. Because I've done nothing but apologize since day one. So there's nothing much on my end that I can do. He favorited the tweets, and then on his Twitter he said note or a piece of advice or pro tip or something. When you're doing a social media cleanse of all your exes, make sure not to forget anything, make sure not to forget anything, and then he just repeated some things, which I don't want to repeat because, again, this is a public platform and I'm not trying to put out there what was out there just for the sake of, I don't know, I guess it's just hard for me to say out loud. It was easy enough for me to tweet, but looking back, I'm like, God, that was such a stupid, stupid decision. So he said that, and then I tweeted at him and said, way to make yourself the victim, and then I was like, you know what, so I deleted it. And then I blocked, everyone was like, you just need to block him on everything because it needs to stop. And I was like, okay. That was really hard for me. This whole thing's hard. And I know I'm leaving out details, and I know it sounds like, I'm sure it sounds like I'm the bad person. But this is really just me owning up to what I did wrong, I think. So I'm sure that's why it sounds, without getting into the nitty-gritty details that really just don't need to be out there. They really don't. So I thought that was kind of over and done with. This was Christmas Eve. So I was with my grandma, she was visiting, and my mom. And I was really tired, and I was also kind of just bummed thinking about the situation. And I was sitting in the car with them thinking about everything, and I get a text from my boss. Let me explain. So my job where I make most of my money is with the school district, and then my other job is I work with kids, teaching them theater and helping produce shows with my boss and my mentor, and she was my vocal coach, and she's like one of my best friends, and she's been in my life for a very long time. I met my ex-boyfriend through her because we were both her students years and years and years ago, and then I eventually became her like mentoree, her student, I think, in a different capacity, because she taught us both voice. She taught us voice lessons, and we were in her shows. And then when I got older, I showed an interest in wanting to direct and stuff, so that's what I do with her, and she teaches me that kind of stuff, and I work for her. So so she's my boss. My dog is sneezing. Bless you. Don't go. My dog is high maintenance. So when I say my boss, I don't mean just like my boss, because a lot of people are like, why is your boss like in your personal life? And I'm like, because she's more than that, you know. And she knows my ex-boyfriend very well too. So she texted me and said, did you see your ex-boyfriend's post on Facebook? And I just said, oh no. Because I knew whatever it was, it couldn't have been good. I didn't imagine what it said. He basically went on a very long rant about his mental health, which he struggled with a lot. And I think part of the reason why I excused so much of his behavior and so much of his actions, and why I took so much on me, which I don't think is necessarily fair, because I struggle with my mental health too. But I don't know, I'm just a very fiercely loyal person, so, you know, him struggling with his mental health, to me, I made that the priority. He posted extensively about that, and then just quickly, briefly mentioned me, and again, without getting into too much detail of what he said, because what he said was just doesn't sound great, which was intentional. It was intentional. But he quickly mentioned me as almost a passing, just not significant part of his life, because he was thanking all the people in his life, and he said unfortunately one of them was my girlfriend. Didn't say ex-girlfriend, didn't provide the context that we had been broken up for a long time, because neither of us announced it, I think because we were both still dealing with it, so we didn't make a big scene about it. I hid my relationship status from my timeline before making myself single, and I didn't even make myself single for a long time because I couldn't even, bringing myself to do that was so hard. So he just briefly mentioned me, and the way that he phrased the post made it sound like I cheated on him, which I honestly didn't like that. He just kind of threw me out there and put me on blast and made me sound whatever. I didn't really care. It's just my issue was the way that he phrased everything made it sound like we were still together when I went on a date with this guy. which is just not true. Like, that's just not true. That hurt because he was very obviously trying to manipulate people who were friends with him and not me, because I would say that we didn't have a lot of mutual friends, and all of our mutual friends immediately were on my side because they knew the situation already, because I was very apparent about it. And after his post, I made my own post. I commented and I said, you broke up with me, and I'm not gonna have you manipulate everyone and make me feel like a bad person for living my life. He quoted one of my tweets, and I said, I was trying to be funny on social media and I made a mistake. And then I just I blocked him. I just decided I need to just leave it, because whatever he's trying to get a reaction out of me, and he's trying to egg me on, and he's trying to embarrass me, which is fine. And I don't think I really need to emphasize how the difference between your audience on Twitter versus your audience on Facebook. Facebook is for your relatives and for your coworkers and, you know, people like that. And Twitter's for, like, your friends. So, especially if it's a private Twitter account versus your Facebook. So, I think him kind of putting that stuff on blast was not okay, because you could look through his Twitter and find some nasty things too and put it on his Facebook, but why? And it's not that he put it on my Facebook, but he put it on his Facebook, and everybody knew. Everybody knew it was me. I don't know. The whole thing was just really embarrassing, and I learned that you have to be careful what you put on social media, even if it's just a private account, or at least just be very cautious who's following you. And even then, my boss said, if the account is linked to you in any way and they know it's you, there's always the possibility that someone's looking for something to use against you later on. So, and she's right, especially this day and age. Yeah, this is a big learning lesson for me, but I think it really hurt to get stabbed in the back like that, in the sense that he was trying to make it seem like I cheated on him. And to me, I think cheating on somebody is one of the worst things you can do to somebody. It's just awful. Like, I have no respect for cheaters, because if you cheat on somebody, that means that you're just a dishonest person, and I have no patience for dishonesty. And he's never dishonest. That's the thing about him. He's never dishonest, but he's careful about what he does and what he says and how he says it, and how he does things is very calculated. That was a really difficult thing for me to go through, so now I'm not talking to him, and it's hard because I'm really embarrassed and ashamed, but I also know that I was just being a regular 22-year-old. There's a lot of pressure on me because I work with kids and I work in my community. And the city that I live in is not small, but everybody seems to know everybody. I don't know why that is, but everybody seems to know everybody. So any little thing, it gets spread very quickly. It was hard for me because I felt that I came to a crossroads where I had to pick between, do I want to be on social media and, you know, be this, like, blunt, honest, completely, like, just put all my stuff out there person? Yes. Do I also want to continue working with the kids that I work with? Yes. At some point, maybe those things can coexist, but I don't think they can at this point. And I don't want to lose what I have with the kids. And it's also not beneficial to be super sloppy and cursing or putting anything vulgar on YouTube at this point, or anything else, because there's so much controversy with making things monetizable that it just wouldn't even be beneficial anyway for me to be that way. I still want to be blunt and I want to be honest, and I'm going to be, but I think I'm just going to pick my words carefully, and I'm going to be smart, and I'm also going to keep in mind, one of the things my boss said was, you know, there's this one girl at the studio, and she said, and this girl, she'll put it out there. Like, when she finds something out, she'll just say it out loud right away. And it's like, she doesn't realize that what she's saying is maybe not the most appropriate thing to be saying in front of everybody. She just says it, and she questions a lot of things because she's a curious mind, to say the least. So my boss said, imagine if anything you post, just keep in mind what if she saw it and she asked you about it later. And I've been carrying that with me for a while. Some things I just post and I'm like, I wouldn't like her to ask about it, but also I don't think that I should be ashamed of this. So I post it. But I'm just going to keep in mind that part of these things and wanting to have a career in this kind of stuff is, God, I overthink so many things. This isn't even a career for me, but I want it to be, so I'm already overthinking it. Part of the responsibility that comes with it is becoming a role model, whether you want to or not. You are. And I really firmly believe that. You have to be the person that you think society and the future generation should become. I don't think anything I do is shameful or disgusting or horrible. I think some things I do are stupid and you can learn from them. I also know that you can't control your audience, and little kids will watch you. Especially because the older generation isn't just not watching YouTube or on social media. That's for kids. For kids and millennials like us. So you can't control whether or not kids watch you. And since I work with kids and I'm very passionate about the work that I do with kids, I have to keep in mind that if there's any question as to whether or not them seeing it might cost me my reputation or cost me something. Even, it's nothing, it's so crazy. It sounds like I've murdered somebody. I didn't do anything. But if you're being just grotesque or, giving too many personal details, I'll say, which I frequently do with my friends. If you do it in a public space, people get judgmental about it. Whether you agree with them or not, people are judgmental about it. And I don't want that judgment to cost me what I have with the kids that I work with, because that's very important to me. And they were there for me when my ex-boyfriend was not. And they're going to be there for me. And my passions and my love for them and for what I do is going to be there when everyone else isn't. So that's where everything needs to lie. But that being said, I also want to have a genuine, honest relationship with my audience, my future audience that doesn't exist yet. Hi. I want to communicate in the way that I think more people should. And I don't believe in censorship, but I also believe that you have to be smart about what you say and do. And I also think there are certain things that kids just maybe shouldn't think about, only because I don't think they're able to understand it yet. I don't know. I know this is very vague and I'm talking around the subject and not being direct, and I apologize for that, but it's I'm saying all of this to explain why I'm being vague, because that's just part of where my life is at. As much as I wish I could be Elijah and Christine, I have to be a little bit more, trying to think of like a Colleen Ballinger, because you just have to keep in mind who's watching and who you really want to affect and how you want to affect them. So it's gonna be hard finding my balance between the two, but that's just where I'm at. I'm finding the balance between the two, so we'll see how everything goes. But I have a new camera and it's amazing because the other one went to my ex-boyfriend, the one we were sharing. But guess what? This one's better and I'm excited about the future. Hopefully this is all focused and everything looks good. It looks good to me, but I don't know. I'm such a novice. Like when I got this, I was like, cool, I'm like such a pro, and then I was like trying to use it and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Who am I gonna recommend? I've been watching a lot of Cody Ko and Noel Miller. I think today I'll recommend Noel Miller because he's literally my wallpaper. Like, it's pathetic. Like, I'm single and I become a thirsty girl again. Like, that sounds weird, thirsty girl. I'm single and I become thirsty again. But he's literally, I'm trying to find my phone. He's literally my wallpaper. Like, do you see that? Like, I love him. He's great. So Noel Miller, I'll put his links below. Not that he needs the shout out. I really need the shout out, but I just give shout outs to YouTubers anyway because it's fun. That's who I'm going to recommend for today. Been watching him and the stuff he does with Cody Co. I'll put a bunch of links down below because I really like what they do. I think they're so funny. And I'll put my links down below. I've been doing a podcast with my friends. My friend has a channel that I've shown up on a couple times in her vlogs. Check her out too. I'm going to be starting my brother's channel again. I think I linked it before, but I'm just going to keep linking all this stuff. So check all that stuff out. Check out, I'm like pointing down, but you can't see. Check all that stuff out. Check out my social media. Check out everything. The stuff that isn't private. I really appreciate your guys' support. There's going to be more videos coming up. I just wanted to do a little life update. Hopefully it's not too long. Whatever. But yeah, thanks you guys. I love you. And please subscribe and please support. I really appreciate it. More than you'll ever know. And thank you. See you guys next time. Thanks. Bye. Oh man.